Hey everyone, welcome to another show of Your Past Does Not Define Your Future. Or does it? We never know, do we? So, as promised, again, I have another wonderful interviewee, my very good friend that I've known for some time, who's an amazing human being, and you're going to love everything she's going to say, is Nadia Al-Seed. So welcome, Nadia, to the show. And I'm looking forward for you to share with the audience some of your little nuggets and some of your advice that you can give for some of the things that have happened in your lifetime that you've learned from and you can move forward from. So you're a mother, you're a businesswoman, you're a homemaker, you're a wife, you've got all of these things. You get involved with your community, diversity and inclusion groups, all of these different things. How do you manage to put everything in balance, but also give everything your attention to the degree that it needs the attention?
Well, Helen, first I'd like to say just thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate that you chose me to interview so that I can talk to both you about what I've gone through in life and where I am currently, but then also let your audience know a little bit about who I am. So yes, as you alluded to, I am a mom. I'm also a businesswoman, as well as a community advocate, a wife, a great friend. And so I wear quite a few hats. And as you mentioned, it's like, hey, how do I end up keeping the balance? So we are all human, of course. And so sometimes those things do get off kilter. I've never professed to be a perfect person. However, it's very important to me to work through my calendar, right? And when I say working through my calendar, it's breaking up my days in terms of time constraints. So saying, okay, I'm going to spend about an hour doing this, 2 hours doing whatever. And I treat the things that are important to me, whether it be work related, personal, or community related, as appointments, right? Because usually when we make appointments, like we're making doctor's appointments, we figure those things are important to us, right? And we want to make them on time. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't always like that, I'd say. A lot of the time I would fly by the seat of my pants. That was many years ago. That's probably before I had a child. And
yes,
a child will force
definitely makes you, yes, definitely forces you into a routine. Yes.
Right. Because a routine is also equally very good for them as well as for you as the parent, leading them forward. But when I say I wasn't always like that, in my early 20s, because I'm still relatively young, as you can tell, but in my early 20s, I spent a lot of time being here, there, and everywhere, but not accomplishing the things that were important to me. And I ended up going through a series of health challenges that really knocked me on my back, literally, to figure out, hey, what's important and how to prioritize. Yes, there are times where you'll have family members, work colleagues, or people in the community that, hey, they see that you're able to get things done and may vie for your attention. But it's up to you as the individual to draw boundaries, right? And I will be honest, I didn't always have the best boundaries. I did not. But over the years, you learn, because sometimes out of necessity or pain, you build those boundaries to not necessarily hibernate or insulate yourself. It's just a way to say, hey, I'm confident in myself enough to say no, or I'm going to do this instead, or thank you so much for the opportunity, but it just doesn't make sense for what I'm doing right now. So I'm super thankful for where I've come from and where I am currently.
And I think boundaries are one of the main things, especially like you just said, when you're putting your businesses together, when you had your daughter, when you're getting new things coming in, because a lot of people think that boundaries are selfish and that boundaries are, well, that's not fair type of thing. But you teach people how to treat you with your boundaries. And boundaries are healthy because, again, it gives you the space and time to do what you need to be able to do. But also, people understand that when you say something, you mean that, and that the boundary is set. And if you cross that boundary, then it becomes uncomfortable. And setting boundaries is something that a lot of people find a challenge to do. So, like you said, you are young and when you were in your 20s. So, how did you manage to set those boundaries with your business colleagues, with your family, all those sorts of things? What helped you do that?
So I would say coaching really was integral to that. And so I can be completely transparent with the audience here. Helen was my amazing coach, actually.
Thank you.
And so from the tools that she provided to me, and for me to say, hey, I'm going to take this up and implement them actually in my life, it's really helped me to become a better person with stronger boundaries. There is no doubt that people, and I will say especially the people closest to you, will try to permeate that boundary that you set up. And they will say things like, oh, but you weren't always like this, or, other little things to try to permeate that boundary. But you have to stand firm in what it is that you believe and what actually feels good to you, not what feels good to everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I'm very thankful, and that was a very much so an integral piece, like you coaching me through boundary setting.
Thank you. But you also learn boundaries. Like you said, people say you weren't always like that. And what people tend to do is always make assumptions or make judgments or make comments on the person that they knew before and not take into account the person that is now. Because we all go through different stages in our life where we learn, we develop, we change. And the people around us sometimes don't accept those changes as easy as they could do. Um, and you're judged on what your past was. And changing that is setting your boundaries and making sure that people know that no, that's right. I have changed. I'm not the person I was before. I'm this person because I'm growing. I have different priorities. And especially once you have children, you have an amazing, beautiful daughter who is an inspiration. And like most children, and she's only 6 years old. So, what are some of the things that you see or hear her do that inspire you? Because we can all learn from all generations.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that. That is my belief as well, that just because I may be her mother or the older person in our relationship, that doesn't mean that I might not learn something interesting from her, whether it be what she might say, out of the mouth of babes, if you will.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
so what I see in her, which is incredibly amazing at that age, is she's incredibly confident, Helen. And she's incredibly confident and secure in herself because I know I've worked hard at making sure that she can just be her most authentic self wherever she is. And I know my partner, my husband, he is the same as well. So like he was always the one that was out there and did, all these things and spoke in front of big groups. But I also knew that I wanted, like, that's, great in itself, but I also knew I wanted Marley to be internally secure and not feel like she had to maybe be the jokester in the class just to attract that security. She's very sweet and kind, and she will walk up to someone and ask them questions that maybe a 6-year-old might not typically ask, and she knows how to carry on a conversation. She will really ask them, like, hey, did you have a great day today? And like, what was so great about your day? And I sit there and watch her carry on conversations with adults. Obviously, I tell her, not all adults have your best interest at heart, but I also don't want you to feel any fear if you will, and just say, like, speak your mind.
Right.
And so I've learned a lot from her. She's funny. She's very, very smart. And she picks up on things and people's, like, how people are feeling, like, really quickly. If I'm not having a great day, she knows to come and hug me. So I am just incredibly thankful to have her here Earthside with me.
Yeah, and also the you know, as you know, kids are my thing, and I love to see them develop in, but I also love to see parents that listen to the children.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough parents that actually listen to what a 5-year-old or 6-year-old or a 4-year-old has to say. And some of them have great insights. And also, one of the things is looking at, and I love it with babies as well, is watching them see things for the first time.
Correct.
And you see that thing that you take for granted for the first time also. And so that's why I'm saying we can learn from all generations. And I think we lose sight of the fact that we're busy, busy, busy. All us women are. We're busy, busy, busy doing a multitude of different things.
Yes.
And sometimes we can forget, stop and just listen to our children instead of saying, well, have you done your homework? Eat your dinner, take your vitamins, wash your hair, clean your teeth, all of these things. You know, it's nice to sit and actually just have some quality time one-on-one to have a conversation, basically,
Yeah.
and but listen to them.
Yes.
You know, and I've seen parents where the children or young adults want to speak, and then the parent carries on the conversation as though they know what the child wanted to say, and that's not what the child wanted to say at all.
Correct. I've caught myself. I'd say I've caught myself, you know, 'cause sometimes, like, the natural behavior, what we've learned
Right.
before, the conditioning comes back in. And so I've caught myself, but Marley is also, my daughter, sorry, she's also caught me, and said, Mommy, but that's not what I was going to say. And I said, oh, I am so sorry. Carry
Right.
on. Tell me what you were going to say. So as I'm saying, she's very vocal about her having her needs met, and I completely respect that.
Yes, and I think that is a great thing, and I look forward to her being even more as she grows older.
Yes.
Goodness me, you know. So, who do you? There's been mentors in everyone's life. Have you had a mentor where they really had an impact on you?
Yes, so I'd say my paternal grandmother. Like, yes, pretty significantly. So at the age of 17, I lost my biological father. And at that time, we weren't as close. I would call, but I would call basically out of obligation around that time. And sometimes when you're younger, you don't really understand the weight of certain people being in your life. And when my father passed away, I just started to keep in touch with both of my grandparents a lot more. My grandfather didn't speak as much as my grandmother did, very quiet in the corner. But my grandmother, wise and was very vocal about her beliefs, but then also has been around, like, young people. And she didn't always say it's my way or the highway. She was always open to listening, right? That common theme, right? Always open to listening and then providing some sort of wisdom or advice. And it was up to me to take it at 100%, 50%, 25, whatever. But she was never judgmental in the things that I maybe brought up to her about certain things. And so I always appreciated that. And her advice was well-rounded. It wasn't just solely based on, like, hey, should I marry this guy or not? Or, you know,
Right.
certain things like that. But I really trusted her advice. And I'd say that's, like, one of my biggest mentors. And I'm very thankful that she's actually my grandmother.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So, what about just before we close, share with the audience any defining moment in your life that had an effect on you where you changed things for the better or for the worse?
Okay, so I'd say first that I changed things for the better. So I earlier on in our conversation, I mentioned some health scares, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if people want to believe this or not, but sometimes the way that you think or the way that you manifest things, it can manifest in your body as disease, right? And
Mm-hmm.
there were times where I wasn't as vocal about how I felt about certain things. And so I kept a lot of things in for years. And what happened was I had a non-cancerous tumor growth. The non-cancerous tumor growth, by the time it was time to come out, ended up being 9 pounds. And so the 9-pound tumor, and I had to have an 8-hour surgery to extract said 9-pound tumor. And obviously I'm under anesthesia. I don't know what's going on, but the fact that I had to be under anesthetic for that long, had such a large tumor, that kind of like knocked me into a realistic mindset. And obviously we're human, so sometimes we ebb and flow on that
Mm-hmm.
promise to ourselves. But I will say I am a lot more vocal about how I feel or about something that's occurring. I let it out. It's not for me to decide if the person's feelings are hurt. I'm usually very kind in my word selections, but
Right.
it's not for me to decide. It's for me to get it off my chest and get it out so it doesn't stay within me. So that was something that I learned
From
pretty
that
early on.
illness.
Yes.
Yes. And I've heard this before with a few other people, and I'm sure most of the audience will agree that, especially with stress, anxiety, keeping quiet, all of those things do have an effect on blood pressure, your heart, your digestive system, all of these things. So what you're saying about, your body does absorb your emotional states and manifest into an illness, that is correct. And it needs to be, like you said, you speak your truth now, you speak what you say, and you're aware of how to say it without hurting someone else's feelings. But if people do take it personally, then that's their challenge to deal with, not yours.
Right.
And I think people need to learn these things more, because, like you said, you do get illnesses and dis-ease in your body because of the way that we act, interact, react, and all those sorts of things.
Correct.
So I'm hoping the audience has got something from you, Nadia. As a young mother, bringing up a 6-year-old who is, intelligent and full of life, and a husband that runs his own business, and you running your own business, and the advocacy in your community that you do. Maybe at another time we can talk about what you actually do for your community and all the things that you get involved in. And hopefully someone has picked something up from you that they can learn from. And that's what the show's all about, is sharing experiences, and hopefully people can learn what to do or what not to do. And, it's out there for people to see what they are. So thank you so much for sharing your inner wisdom with us. And I thank you all for listening today to this show. Your past does not define your future. Always got some interesting people. I have some amazing people lined up. So stay tuned. Make sure you do your comments so that I can get some feedback. Nadia can get some feedback also. And Helen Bella signing off. And remember, mindset is the key to transformation.